good morning, because it's afternoon. I'm Parsi Leonard, and I'm the president of the humble to be the president of the Memorial Unitarian Universalist Society this year. And I want to welcome everybody to the gathering. 6 years ago, Reverend, I love saying her name, Jennifer Hamlin-Navias elected to become a part of the story of the Memorial, a story that has been ongoing for over 175 years. When Jennifer joined us in 2005, the harmonies among the adult voices of the society had become discordant, atonal. It was the end of another chapter in the society's ongoing narrative, a chapter that had not ended well. Jennifer's arrival, as I recall, was without fanfare. No processionals, no trumpets, no rose petals. In the spring, we were without a DRE. In the fall, voila! There's Jennifer. We returned to find her up front, right here, on an autumn Sunday morning, engaging the children, charming the adults with her stories. She had accepted our call and had in fact been quietly laboring at what she does so very well, ministering to the children, teens, and young adults of our congregation. Although I suspect that we were unaware at the time, in retrospect, I see the events of that fall as transformational for our community. In the meantime, upstairs, the interim ministers arrived, worked their magic, and moved on, and the adult voices moved into more harmonious discourse. Jennifer continued to strengthen and grow our youth ministry while quietly pursuing a larger personal goal, that of fulfilling the requirements necessary to become a credentialed UU minister. A long and arduous process, now successfully completed. Associate Minister of Religious Education of the May Memorial Unitarian Universalist Society, I want to welcome you on behalf of that official title. Unofficially, I invite everyone to share with us in celebration of the achievements of a remarkable young woman, wife, mother, educator, counselor, spiritual advisor, trusted confidant, and friend. Today is for the processions, fanfare, accolades, alas, still no rose petals, but we do have a trumpet. A special welcome this morning to those who have traveled great distances to be here. Mr. Bob Grieve, the Interim Director of Lifespan Religious Education for First Unitarian Society of Newton, Massachusetts, who you will be privileged to hear later. Halcyon Westall, the DRE for Channing Memorial Church in Newport, Rhode Island. Halcyon is also the good officer for the Liberal Religious Educators Association. Connie Goodbread. Connie is presently the interim director of the St. Lawrence District, among many other duties and responsibilities, who comes via a circuitous route up the mid-Atlantic from Palm Harbor, Florida. Dr. Reverend Kathleen Waters, interim minister of Plymouth Congregational United Church of Christ in downtown Syracuse. Reverend Gene Wallstrom, our beloved parish minister, and Kelly Kilmer Hall, an intern presently serving the May Memorial. And of course, a warm welcome to visitors, visiting clergy, friends, family members, and the members and friends and youth of May Memorial. In the words that are now part of our mission and vision, here, let no one be a stranger. We have a long tradition of greeting one another and singing to one another. So please, stand as you are able, greet your neighbor, and join together in singing our opening hymn, number 126 in the hymn. Come thou fount of every blessing. Pray.
As Naomi helps with our chalice lighting this afternoon, I invite you to join in the unison words which are printed in the orders for review. We light this chalice in celebration of the gift of life. May its light be a beacon of hope, a sign of our quest for truth and meaning. Infinite love, be here with us now. Infinite love, be here with us now, as we are here in love and support for Jennifer, as we are here in celebration and support for her ministry at May Memorial. Spirit of life, be here with us now as we are here, all ages, babies, toddlers, children, teens, young adults, not so young adults, boomers, elders, the really, really old, the ones my sister once called me, old as the hills. We bring life to this sanctuary, and we celebrate the life we share in community. Joy is here, and anticipation. Some people have been here for hours. Some have barely arrived. We all know that we are in for a good time. Jennifer has planned it that way. She has planned this installation, invited us, pictured how it would be. But because you all are here, I bet this installation, celebration, will be even better than she imagined. Yes, love is here. Life is here. Joy is here. We are here. How good, how sweet and good it is. At this time, I would like to call young people forward for a story time, and anyone who's feeling like they want to get closer up front here with Jeff now.
I get to tell a story. Wow. Hi. How are you folks? I brought something with me today, but this something, you see, Jennifer gave me this story. And when I get a story, I go through a process where I have to find out about that story because I want to know the story of the story. And so I looked for the earliest variation of the story I could find. And the earliest example of the story that I could find was from the coast of America on the west side, northwest side. But you know what? It wasn't in English. As a matter of fact, it was a 70-foot pole, a story pole. Now, sometimes we confuse those with totem poles. But a totem pole is about the history of one's family. And a story pole tells a story. And the earliest variation of this that I could find was a story pole, 70 foot tall, that was done in 1938 by a chief. I couldn't bring that story pole, that wonderful cedar that was carved with animals. So instead, I brought this little piece of cedar that's also from that same part of the world. And you know what cedar? Have you ever smelled cedar? It has a special smell. It has a special smell. So this is a piece of cedar that's a flute. And it was made by the people who made this story. A long time ago, the world was very different than it is today. You see, the sky was dark and heavy and very low. And the people had to walk bent over. Because the sky was so low that when they stood up, they bumped their heads. And if you've ever bumped your head, you know how. So, because of that, they had to walk like this, or like this, or sometimes like this. Well, after a little while, they started to argue about small things. And they got angry with one another. And then they got into bigger arguments and they started to push and shove each other. There was a little girl who saw this, and she thought, this isn't right. But the sky was so low. Everybody had to walk like that. She went into the very center of the village, and she put up her hands, and she pushed. And she thought, or maybe she imagined, she thought that the sky had moved just a little. So she called out everybody. She said, everybody come on out. And they all came on out. And she said, if you push, the sky will move up. Well, the grown-ups, they were too grumpy to even try. And so they all went back to their houses. But the children stayed with her. And some of them got together and they pushed. And maybe the sky went up a little bit. And the kids got so excited, they then went running back and they pulled their parents out and they said, you have to try this, you have to try this. Okay. So all the people got together and they pushed. And maybe they just worked. They tried a little harder and maybe it was working. So she said, this was a very smart little girl, she said, we have to get everybody from all the different tribes to come and help, and maybe if we all push together, the sky will go up. So they all went, and they got everybody that they could from all the different tribes, and there was one problem. They all spoke different languages in the different tribes. So they could show them, but that would only move the sky in this one place. So how would they get everybody all over? If one person said push, those folks over there spoke a different language and they didn't understand the word push. So they went to the oldest person in the village to ask for help. And he said, we should think about this for 2 days. But the first day, you all going out and you need to cut down cedar branches as long and as tall as you possibly can. So they went and they cut down cedar trees and they came back. And the next day he said, okay, yo-ho! He said, what? And he said, that means we work together. Whenever we yell, yo-ho! We're going to push. And so they spread out all the tribes all the way around to the very furthest corners of the world, and they all, yo-ho! And they pushed. And then they took their branches, and they, yo-ho! And they pushed, and yo-ho! And they pushed, and yo-ho! And they pushed. And the sky went up. But some people think that some of those branches might have pricked some holes in the sky. And so late at night, if you look up, you might see those holes. And that's it. And if you work together, you may be able to push the sky a little higher. Thank you. Oh, and I think children are going to stay here with us, right? Right? Okay.
When I was a child, I went to church with real-life superheroes, and I bet you do too. There was Play-Doh Polly, whose superhero powers included being able to make anything out of Play-Doh in just a second's time. What was most impressive about Polly's Play-Doh powers was that she seemed to magically know just who in our class needed the most help and was always there to help, whether the help we needed was with Play-Doh sculpting or something going on in our lives. With a handful of Play-Doh and a caring heart, Polly was there to help. There was Boiler Room Bob, whose fix-it powers never ceased to amaze us. With just a wrench and a screwdriver and a roll of handy duct tape, Bob could fix anything that needed fixing on a Sunday morning, or any other time. Whether it was a broken window or a stopped-up toilet, a burnt-out coffee maker, or the sound system, Bob was there to make sure it got fixed. And not just on Sundays. He seemed to be in the building 24 hours a day, every day of the year. There was Octo the organist, who could inspire all near him to join together to make beautiful music. Octo's specialty was that it didn't matter what our musical skills were or how badly we sounded alone. His power to bring us together extended to make our combined music sound fabulous. I'll always remember Janet Justice, who had an eye on world events and could explain them in such a way that they made sense to everyone, regardless of our ages. Justice Janet tirelessly encouraged us to use our privilege and power to help make the world a better place. She organized the first town-wide recycling program, started a community garden, regularly ran voter registration drives, and was on a first-name basis with all of her local, state, and national politicians. If Justice Janet were here with us today, she might suggest that after we've completed this sacred act of installing Jennifer as your Minister of Religious Education, we march ourselves downtown to join Occupy Syracuse. In fact, she'd probably be on her way. Play-Doh Polly, Boiler Room Bob, Octo the organist, and Justice Janet, along with all of their superhero friends, created a community where each person was valued for who they are. They learned that by staying in community and sharing powers, they could cover each other's weaknesses and broaden their own strengths. Together, they were a force for good in the world, offering love and caring wherever they traveled. They decided that they needed a symbol to remind themselves of the importance of being in community. So no one was surprised when Felting Fred came up with a fantastic idea. You see, Fred's power was using craft projects to bring people together. And as you can imagine, felt was his favorite fabric. Fred suggested that every superhero take a piece of felt to which they felt connected and place it on a large cloth. On this cloth, there was a design that represented their community, such as the one we have here in the chancel. By doing this, and with a little help from the powers of Fred, a beautiful tapestry was created and served forevermore as their symbol. Just as Fred invited his superhero friends to create a tapestry, I invite you to do so as well here today. We'll start with the far left section and work our way across the sanctuary. I invite you to begin coming forward and taking a piece of felt as you feel connected to it. Take a piece of felt and peel off the back and place it here on the chalice, creating a symbol that will remind you of the power of your community. And if you would like help with the stairs or getting your felt onto the cloth, I have no doubt that there are superheroes among you to help. So we'll take a moment now, and please do come forward. This tapestry will hang in the Children's Chapel as a reminder to you of the strength and beauty of this community. Take a good look. What a beautiful, beautiful symbol of this gathered community. May it remind you, Jennifer, may it remind you in the years to come of the power and beauty that exists here among you. May it remind us all of the importance of gathering together, For participation in religious community helps us to answer life's questions. It teaches us holy engagement, not only on the holidays and at social justice rallies, but also in our everyday lives. It challenges us to become better people and provides us with the tools to live out our religious values, to become superheroes of our own right. Being in religious community helps us to clearly define and articulate what we individually and collectively believe about life's deepest and not so deep questions. A story from Sufism, the mystical side of Islam. A small boy banged a drum all day and all night and loved every moment of it. He would not be quiet no matter what anyone said. Various members of the community were invited by the neighbors to do something about the child. The first person told the boy that he would burst his eardrums if he continued to make so much noise. But this was too advanced of an idea. The second told him that drum beating was a sacred activity and should be carried out only on special occasions. But the boy responded, "Every day is a special occasion." The third offered the neighbors earplugs, while the fourth gave the boy a book. Some of these cures worked for a short time, but none for very long. And then a traveler, a Sufi practitioner, came along. He looked at the situation and listened, and then he handed the boy a hammer and a chisel, and he asked, "What do you think is inside the drum?" The Sufi traveler reminds us that sometimes we need to approach each activity as a learning and teaching opportunity. We learn best through asking questions and finding answers. We learn through engagement with materials presented to us. We learn through observation of what is happening around us. And we learn by noticing what is not happening around us. Therefore, everything that happens in congregational life and in your community is part of a multi-generational religious education curriculum. Maria Harris, a great theologian, puts in her book, Fashion Me a People, this idea. A fuller and more extensive curriculum is already present in your church's life, in teaching, worship, community, proclamation, and outreach. Printed resources that serve this wider curriculum are in the library of the church, especially the comprehensive curriculum materials designed over the last century. But these, however, are not the curriculum. The curriculum is both more basic and more profound. It is the entire course of the church's life, found in the fundamental forms of that life. It is the priestly, the prophetic, the political work of teaching, worship, community, proclamation, and outreach. Where education is the fashioning and refashioning of these forms in interplay, curriculum is the subject matter and the processes that make them to be what they are. Where education is the living and the fashioning, curriculum is the life, the substance that is fashioned. Harris's theory takes it that all aspects of church life to the complete curriculum of religious education, and this makes sense. Within the children's and youth religious education program, there is not enough time to teach all that needs to be taught. Let us pretend for a moment that each child in the congregation of East Cupcake was going to be present for every class. Their annual classroom instruction, not including going to special activities for holidays or school vacations, their annual classroom instruction would amount to approximately 24 hours of religious instruction. In a year's worth of living, they will have spent just one day engaged in formal religious education. That's just not enough time to teach anything, never mind everything we want to teach them. And we adults, we spend even less time, if any at all, in classroom-based education instruction. But if we use Harris's framework for what makes the curriculum, we can note that we are teaching and learning through all we do. our use of fair trade coffees and teas, our commitment to lessen our impact on the environment, our work with communities outside our doors, these keep our focus not only on ourselves, but on the rest of the world as well. These are important aspects of the curriculum of outreach. And I would like to add an additional component, that which happens at home and with your family. Religious education happens when we share our thoughts and questions with family and friends. It happens when we engage in the world and reflect on those experiences. It is my hope that our religious education programs provide us with all the tools we need to make sense of our everyday lives. Religious education, you see, does not happen solely in this church building or in other church buildings, but at home, in hockey practice. It happens at musical rehearsals and running errands. It happens best in the car or making dinner. The Reverend A. Powell Davies wrote that religion is not something separate and apart from ordinary life. It is life. Life of every kind viewed from the standpoint of meaning and purpose. Life lived in the fuller awareness of its human quality and spiritual significance. I would hope that at its core, your religious education teaches this message of that inextricable connection between religion and life. The superheroes of the congregations far and near will tell us that this is so. I'll close with what is perhaps my favorite religious education story of all times, written by one of the grandmothers of Unitarian Universalist religious education, Barbara Marshall. At the edge of a forest, there stood a squat toadstool. Next to him grew a spindly plant about the same height with a few leaves. One day, the toadstool said to his companion, "Hey, Skinny, I've been watching you. Tell me this, how come when somebody kicks a toadstool, we fall all to pieces, but when someone steps on you, you can straighten right up again, good as new?" The skinny plant thought for a while, and then answered, "Well, I guess it's because I have something down under the ground called roots. They go down deep, and when I get stepped on, I just hang on tight with my roots until I'm all right again." "Hey, that's a great idea," said the toadstool. "How do you go about getting those roots?" "Well," said his friend, "it takes a long time. I've been growing mine for almost a year." "A year?" shouted the toadstool. "Who's got time like that? A whole year growing something you can't even see? Roots may be handy, but that's the silliest waste of time I've ever heard." He laughed. But finally, he said to his forest friend, "By the way, Spindly, when you've got all your roots grown, what do you expect to be?" The spindly plant seemed to grow just a little bit taller, and he said, "Do you see that tallest oak standing out there against the winds at the top of the hill? That's my mom. Someday I'm going to be just like her." A deep religious faith is like the deep roots of the oak tree. It helps to give us strength to weather the storm of life. Coming to church each week helps you to grow your deep roots of faith, like the oak tree grew deep roots in the earth. These roots will help you feel secure in your community and will ensure that you won't be like the toadstool and fall apart at the slightest little kick. May we, through religious education, cultivate our roots in order to better bend and sway to the changing times. And stick around long enough, you may never know it, but you might wake up one day and realize that all this time you've been sitting next to a superhero right here in this sanctuary. May it be so, and may we be the ones to make it so. Amen. I invite you to rise as you are able and to join in singing Spirit of Life, number 123 in the Great Hymn.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hamlin, and I'm going to be reading the charge to the congregation. So, Jennifer asked the Teens May Memorial to give a charge to the congregation. As she explained to us, a charge to the congregation is kind of where the congregation gets instruction on how it can really be the best congregation that it can be, in the relationship, of course, of congregation to minister. She chose us, so she said, because who else has a better, deep knowledge of this congregation? Many of us have spent a good part of our lives learning from you, sometimes even teaching you, and trying to figure life in general out. Some of us, like myself, Isabella Dillon, Emmy Ryder, Connie Waters, and Mason Otero, in the back, met with her this past week to discuss and create this charge. And so here it is. Here at May Memorial, we're a great congregation. We really have the people who take time out of their lives to volunteer to help build this congregation. Some of us teach, cook, serve coffee, help lead worship, and even in general just keep the building working. There's so many ways that so many of us make this place what it is, and we have a lot of people who give a lot of time to social justice works. We have people who give their time to make a larger world a better place. We are a friendly place. We have a lot to learn from you, and here is some of what we've learned from you. Happier adults make everything better. When members feel more included, they generally feel happier. And when we have a variety of people here, we get along because we are all real people, and it's not hard to be real when you're surrounded by real people. And that doesn't only describe the adults. Our religious education is expanding kids' left brains all the time. And it has been our experience that the children are never repressed here. We are encouraged to think, to feel, and to even explore what it is that we believe. This starts really when we are little in RE. We are asked questions and not given the answers. We're forced to really find our own truth and meaning. As we grew up in RE, the questions got more complex. We are asked to think about bigger things, more complex issues. When we get to junior high, we took out. It was tough, but we learned a lot about ourselves, our bodies, and our values, even our relationships. In coming of age, we got to experience what you really don't get to experience in other churches. We were asked to explore what we believe. We were not asked to believe what you believe or what is the commonly accepted belief. We were asked to find our own. And our teen group continues this responsible search for truth and meaning. It asked us to bring our whole selves to foster creativity. It is the culmination of our RE program. We have been taught how to search for meaning, and we are expected to keep that search going. There are not many places in the world where we can be real and ask real questions without fear. We know that this is a safe place. So we teens ask you, and ourselves, we ask us all to keep on doing what we have doing all along, been doing all along. Let us keep on searching for that truth and that meaning. And let us keep on doing that in a caring way that values the inherent dignity of every man and woman in this congregation. And while we are doing that, let us have fun and enjoy each other.
Jennifer, it's such an honor to share this joyous day with you. Traditionally, the charge to the minister includes wise advice to the new minister from an experienced one. And you are not a new minister, and I am not a minister at all. Let's get that out of the way right up front. So why have me deliver a charge here at May today? I believe you asked for a charge because you are wise enough to know that all of us, no matter our position, should always be ready to receive wisdom. And as for why take ministry advice from a religious educator, well, that's because you know that religious education is integral to our faith. That and I am one of your friends who will tell it like it is, so I have come with my words of advice. You have never been one to follow convention. You told me of your days attending seminary with a nursing infant, and that was just the beginning. You have been driven by your calling, even when you tried to ignore it. There have been twists and turns in your life and in your ministry.
ups and downs. Honor each part of that journey. You have added your determination and intelligence to every challenge. You would not be the amazing, thoughtful pastor that you are without those experiences. I charge you to trust the wisdom that they have given you. The good people surrounding us here have recognized that you are part of a long line of religious educators here at May who lift up and strengthen the entire congregation. So we are here today celebrating your place in the future of Meek Memorial. One certain thing about the future is that it will bring change, that it needs to bring change. And because change is slow, I charge you to be patient, but not cautious. You will make mistakes, they will make mistakes, and it will be messy. Make mistakes, get messy anyway. All that mess requires an ability to find humor in the complexities of life, and thankfully, you have a fantastic sense of fun and laughter. You are able to laugh very well, my friend, and I will not tell stories here. But how lucky this congregation is to see life through your twinkling eyes. People here love you, and you love them. Laugh a lot, and cry when necessary. We are, each one of us, pieces of God, walking around, experiencing the world. The work of ministry is like a giant jigsaw puzzle. We don't know who's going to show up, and we don't know the talents and gifts they have to share. We don't know the history that each person brings with them when they arrive, either as children or adults. As we build relationships, we are experiencing the grace of God. You are tremendously thoughtful, gifted in helping people to find their place in the work we share. You treat all ages with respect and expectation that they will rise to your belief in them. You, more than others I know, can see the big picture. I charge you to remember that, like the members of this congregation, you are deserving of God's grace too. Remember, God's love is meant for you and flows through you. One way you can remember is to say no more often. Take your days off, share the responsibilities, and let others feel the powerful transformation of this work. This is not just a self-care imperative, it's good theology, and quite possibly my most fervent charge to you. Say no, the needs of your family, and moreover the needs of being a healthy, well-fed, and rested person take priority. So Jennifer, do you pledge to trust God's love? Will you trust the wisdom of your experiences? Will you get messy and have fun? Will you take good care of yourself so that you can take care of these good people? And if so, will you please sound your agreement by saying, I will?
I will. Jennifer, I invite you to join me. And I would like to draw your attention to, in your order of service, there is an insert that is labeled Service Installation. And we will be asking you to take part. We've come together to install Jennifer Hamlin-Navias as Associate Minister for Religious Education of the May Memorial Unitarian Universalist Society. In our tradition, the act of calling and installing a minister is vested in the society membership. In performing this service of installation, we recognize that the relationship between minister and the congregation is established by mutual consent, is based upon trust and confidence. Jennifer, we realize that the calling of minister demands a high moral responsibility. We realize also that the success of your ministry here depends on all of us. Among us, we would have you preach truth as you know it, in freedom and in love. We would have you minister to us alike in our joys and our sorrows. We would have you set forth in word and deed the principles of our faith. We would have you lead us in creating and nurturing a community of religious education that allows our children, youth, and adults to grow in the Unitarian Universalist faith. Jennifer, do you now accept the challenge of serving May Memorial as the Associate Minister for Religious Education?
I do.
I now ask the adults, children, and youth of May Memorial to rise and say in unison, we,
The members of May Memorial Unitarian Universalist Society, install on you, Jennifer Hamlin-Navias, as our Associate Minister. We pledge to walk with you in unity of spirit and the bond of faith. We offer you our encouragement and assistance in advancing the mission of the Society.
It is with a deep sense of responsibility and great joy I pledge myself to work in every way possible to achieve the ideals for which we stand, to speak the truth with love and courage, to fulfill offices of education, administration, and worship, and to help build May Memorial by continuing to build the religious education ministry, that it may be a sanctuary of righteousness, truth, and love.
Reverend Jennifer has become a beloved member of our community in the years she's been with us. Our children and families have especially benefited from her skills and her attention. We are delighted to present this stole, symbol of service and leadership, to Reverend Jennifer. The stole was created by the young people of our community who attended this year's Unitarian weekend. The stole features their handprints lovingly applied. We hope that Jennifer will feel our love every time she dons her stole and know that she carries our support and best wishes with her always.
Try to find with your eyes the people you greeted at our time for greeting a little earlier. Seek them out, or the others around you. And recognize the women who can fly, the men who have superpowers, all the superheroes, young and old, around you. What a wonderful community this is. Let us join in the spirit of meditation and prayer. May the glow of this afternoon, the glow on Jennifer's face, linger in our hearts and brighten our days.
May our celebration be remembered long after we are gone as a milestone in the life of May Memorial UU Society. May it become a part of the sacred story that abides in this place. May this day, gray as it is, shine bright in our memory. May it be there to strengthen and to reassure Jennifer. May it be there to call us at May Memorial back to our promises, our commitments to work and to serve together. We are superheroes, and we can do so very much together. So be it, and amen. It is customary at our Unitarian Universalist services of installation that the offering go to support ministers, seminarians who are in need of financial assistance. And so at this time, as you are able, I would invite you into our time of offering.
Congregational church that Jennifer and her family have been a part of for many years, to give a word of greeting. And actually, when I think of the essence of my words, I give words of thanksgiving and words of prayer. As a community, we do give thanks for all the ways that Jennifer has touched the lives of our children and our youth and our adults in Syracuse. And we pray that Jennifer would continue as a spiritual leader and educator, especially in the realm of our faith communities and our schools. And as a community, we give thanks for Jennifer's ecumenical and collegial commitments to the wider faith community. I'm a recipient of that. And we pray and encourage her and you to continue to be that voice and presence of faith and justice. And as a community, we give thanks for Jennifer's clear voice on issues of social justice, and we pray that she will be given time and she will have the energy to both model and teach the principles of justice and peace to our children and our youth and our adults, as she has been doing. And as a community, we give thanks for the relationship between you, Jennifer, and May Memorial, and we pray that you would continue to be a blessing to one another, and in doing so, you will continue to be a blessing to our wider community. Thank you.
I'm Connie Goodbrad, and I am the interim district executive for St. Lawrence District, and this is one of the most fun things I get to do. Not only the recognition of a congregation and a minister that found one another, but the deep commitment to walk life's journey together. This is an amazing thing. This is a fine celebration. St. Lawrence District would like to remind you that we are in covenant with you, that our covenant speaks of hope, love, justice, courage, and joy, and that we are here to support one another. And so, when it's time to push up the sky, please remember that you do not do this work alone. You have company and you have support. Thank you.
Each Sunday morning in worship, we sing Reverend Jennifer and the children out with the words, "For we shall go out in joy and come back in peace." Indeed, on this day, we all, children and adults alike, will end our sacred time together in great joy. It is no small thing we have done here today, for to call an associate minister is an act of faith, an act of covenant, and an act of courage. Most of all, it is an act of love. Today and every day, we are filled with joy when we see Jennifer smile. Personally, I am joyful and thankful to have Jennifer as a part of my teaching congregation, as I get the benefit of two experienced and committed ministers who have and will continue to play a part in my formation as a minister. As a community, we are joyful to know that our children, for they are all of our children, are the beloved beneficiaries of her ministry. We are joyful that not just parents, but children and adults of all ages are also the beneficiaries of Reverend Jennifer's work here. Her covenanted ministry with Reverend Jean and May Memorial makes us a stronger and more connected congregation. We are joyful that there is a party waiting for us. Children of all ages love a party. let us leave this sacred space today filled with all of these joys, named and unnamed. Let us leave here with full hearts, with gratitude for this time of celebration, and with the all-abiding love and commitment to this society. For we shall go out in joy, and we will come back in peace. May it be so, and amen. I invite you to rise and join me in our closing hymn, number 1028, in your teal hymnal.
And now, as you prepare to leave this sacred space, pack away a piece of this church in your heart. Wrap it carefully, like a precious gem. Carry it with you through the joys and sorrows of your days. Let its gentle glow strengthen you, warm you, remind you of all that is good and true. until we gather here again in this place of love. And now I'm going to ask for the band to come forward and process the clergy and DREs out. Enjoy. And then we get to have a party.
Turn it back on.
Turn him out?
Turn it back on.
Oh, turn him back on. Oh, this, the phone? Okay. I don't need it till I get out there. We're going to put it back.